Hello again. I am Aditi Dubey, and today we are talking about viruses, not the kind that causes colds or even pandemics. These are viruses that cause cancer. Yes, cancer. Roughly 1 in 6 cancer cases worldwide can be traced back to infectious agents. Among them, two stand out: HPV, the human papillomavirus, and hepatitis B and C viruses. Let's start with HPV. This is a virus so common that most of us encounter it at some point. For many, it passes silently. But in some, especially women, it can lead to cervical cancer, the fourth most common cancer in women worldwide. It's only linked to cancers of the throat, anus, and genitals in both women and men. Now, here is the good news: HPV is preventable. We have vaccines that are safe, effective, and capable of eradicating most HPV related cancers. And yet, uptake remains uneven. In Germany, the vaccine has been available since 2007, but for years it was recommended only for girls. It wasn't until 2018 that the Standing Committee on Vaccination expanded it to boys, acknowledging that cancer doesn't care about gender. Uptake rates still hovering around 50%, not nearly enough for herd immunity. In Austria and Switzerland, the story is similar: strong scientific backing, public health infrastructure, and yet a patchwork of coverage. In Austria, HPV vaccines are offered free to children aged 9 to 12, but beyond that, it often depends on where you live and how informed your parents were. Now, zoom out to Eastern Europe, to Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, and Poland, and the picture gets even more complex. In some of these countries, cervical cancer mortality rates are among the highest in Europe. Yet, HPV vaccination programs are underfunded, poorly promoted, or absent altogether. Why? It's not just cost, it's awareness, cultural taboos, and at times, mistrust in government healthcare system. There have been failed rollouts, vaccine hesitancy, and in some regions, oppositions from religious groups or conservative institutions who see the vaccine as somehow encouraging promiscuity. But education is changing that, quietly, steadily. NGOs, school based health programs, and survivors advocacy groups are stepping in, talking to parents, students, and even policymakers. In Slovakia, new digital platforms allow parents to schedule vaccines through schools. In Germany, campaigns now target not just girls and parents, but also boys, teachers, and even sports clubs. And then there is hepatitis, another silent killer. Chronic hepatitis B and C infections can lead to liver cancer, one of the deadliest form of cancer, often diagnosed late and resistant to treatment. In Austria and Germany, universal screening of hepatitis C is becoming more common, especially among older adults and high risk populations. But in many parts of Eastern Europe, testing remains limited, treatment is costly, and stigma surrounds those living with the virus. Here, too, vaccination is a powerful tool, especially against hepatitis B, which has long been part of childhood immunization schedules in much of Europe. The challenge now is in reaching marginalized communities, refugees, migrants, people who inject drugs, who often fall through the cracks. Because in the end, vaccination isn't just the needles and vials, it's about infrastructure, communication, and most of all, trust. Trust that the system is working for everyone. Trust that prevention is better than cure. And trust that protecting ourselves doesn't mean being reckless. It means being responsible. So, if we want to reduce the cancer burden, we don't need to wait for the next breakthrough drug. We need to vaccinate, educate, and reach those who have been left behind. Because some of the most powerful tools in cancer prevention have already been invented. I am Aditi Dubey, and this was episode 9. Thank you for listening.